I am here to enlighten you by ranking Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography. PTA is back with one battle after another, so it's worth taking a look back at his entire filmography. Paul Thomas Anderson has been one of the American directors of the last 25 years. This guy is basically a legend now. He started as a wonderkind in his 20s. Oh my God, what am I doing with my life? I remember my first Paul Thomas Anderson movie. It was Magnolia back during high school, and I didn't know what to make of it. It was so hyped, it was so lauded, and the filmmaking was electric. I mean, this thing was 3 hours, and I could not turn away from it. And then I saw Boogie Nights, and that has that same energy. And I thought, well, maybe this guy's just a coked out rock star filmmaker. And then There Will Be Blood changed the whole game. I've seen his whole filmography. I await every film he does. That doesn't mean they're all classics, but every time he makes a movie, it is definitely worth a look. So let's look back at PTA's filmography by ranking them 10 to 1, and we'll see where his new one battle after another, lands. Number 10 is his very first film, Hard 8. Now, this is in the slot kind of because it's his most forgettable film, and it's also the one where he was still developing his style. This is a character portrait of former gambler Sidney, played by legendary character actor Philip Baker Hall. Sidney mentors John C. Reilly's John, teaching him the ins and outs of gambling and how to become a player in Vegas. It's very much a low-key and bittersweet film. Anderson, ever the fan of Robert Altman, takes a lot of cues from him. This feels like a lost Robert Altman character study. Even though it's a solid debut, you can feel the growing pains and that this filmmaker has a lot more to show. Number 9. This will be my most controversial take in this episode. It's The Master. I know. Don't come after me with pitchforks. The Master was a film that didn't work for me at all when I first saw it. I rewatched it a few years ago, and it worked a little better. Now, mind you, there is incredible filmmaking on display here. The way this movie looks, the way it sounds with Johnny Greenwood's score, and the acting powerhouses of Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman squaring off cannot be overstated. In some ways, it's a story of America told through these two men. But The Master is a movie that always keeps you within arm's reach. It's an enigma, and Anderson's most art house film. The first two-thirds of this movie always cast a spell on me. It has me in its grip. But sadly, the last 40 minutes always loses me. It becomes too vague in what it's trying to say. Maybe I'll love this movie 10 years down the line. But unfortunately, right now, it's still at the bottom. Number 8, Inherent Vice. This adaptation of Thomas Pynchon's novel is Anderson at his most vibiest. Is that a word? Joaquin Phoenix returns as Doc Sportello, a PI searching for his ex-girlfriend. It takes place in 70s San Fernando Valley. It's a shaggy and labyrinthian mystery that takes Sportello from old friends to drugged out hippies to power brokers to Josh Brolin's whacked out police officer, all the way up the rungs of power. It's a hard movie to decipher on a character level, on a plot level, with its weird editing rhythms and offbeat performances and cool soundtrack. It's a comedy that's satiric, but not laugh out loud funny, and you'll bang your head against the wall trying to figure out what it all means, but it's one that can be fun if you go with the flow. Number 7, Punch Drunk Love. This is Anderson at his sweetest and his quirkiest. In leading this movie is Adam Sandler in his first non-comedic role as a lovable loser who falls for Emily Watson's shy character. This is entirely a character study about a man who's so bottled up that he can't even let himself fall in love. It's not as visually inventive with the camera as other PTA films, but with Sandler and Watson at the center, this becomes a rather cute romance with one spectacular scene by Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's a little forgettable in his filmography, it being his last contemporary movie in 20 years, but in that way it makes it one of his most rewatchable, because every time you forget about it and then put it on, you remember, oh yeah, this is a guy who has a lot to say, a lot of feelings to show, and he knows how to do it through these two characters. And number 6, Licorice Pizza. This might be the most fun Anderson movie. You get the sense that after proving himself as an American master, Anderson just wanted to have fun and write something a little autobiographical. This is a love letter to the San Fernando Valley in the 70s. Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, Cooper Hoffman, is our hero. It's about how he navigates his teenage years right when he's on the cusp of being an adult. It's kind of a love story, but more of like a friendship story between him and Alana Haim's object of affection. These two have great chemistry together, and there's also some incredible supporting performances by Benny Safdie, Sean Penn, and especially Bradley Cooper. Licorice Pizza is just a good time. It's a vibe like Inherent Vice, but it's not dark or bleak. It's just straight up fun. All right, we're in the top five. Yeah. My Tom Cruise and Magnolia impression. Number five, for now, One Battle After Another. PTA's latest is a blistering, epic, thrilling action movie. He finally pairs up with Leonardo DiCaprio for a political look at an alternate America where fascism has taken over and a former radical has to go on the run and rescue his daughter. This film is clearly PTA at the peak of his powers. Peak filmmaking, peak visual storytelling, maybe peak performances, peak action filmmaking, and peak Johnny Greenwood's score with editing to create a propulsive and unforgettable experience. Anderson has always been a big filmmaker, but this is him going huge. Number four, Magnolia. PTA's love letter to the messiness of life, to Los Angeles, and to Robert Altman. There's a lot of Robert Altman's shortcuts in this sprawling ensemble story of love and connection and people who are desperate to reach out to each other. It probably has one of the greatest casts of all time. Tom Cruise, John C. Reilly, Philip Baker Hall, William H. Macy, Julianne Moore, Melora Walters, Melinda Dillon, Jason Robards, Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's a filmmaker putting it all out there. Every idea, every thought, every feeling. And with its swooping camera and relentless pace and constant cross-cutting through maybe like a dozen stories, it's exhausting but exhilarating, and it probably has the most unforgettable deus ex machina of all time. And it's so sincere from a filmmaker who is not afraid to put it all out there. I'm talking everything, the kitchen sink and the frogs. We're in the top three, and number three, Phantom Thread, PTA's second collaboration with Daniel Day-Lewis. It's still quite miraculous that this came from Paul Thomas Anderson's brain, a story set in 1950s London about a very grumpy dressmaker, and Daniel Day-Lewis gives one of his most fascinating performances as Reynolds Woodcock. Greatest name ever. The fashion designer who meets his match with Vicky Krieps' Alma, as Alma stands up to him, takes care of him, and ultimately becomes exactly what he needs to tame his bitter impulses. It's kind of Vicky Krieps' movie. It's a travesty she didn't receive an Oscar nomination. She goes toe-to-toe with Daniel Day-Lewis, and she comes out the victor. This is definitely Anderson's most sardonic film, but it might be his funniest. And there's always something new to discover with this pair that loves each other, hates each other, and sometimes loves to hate each other. Number two, if cocaine was a film, it would be Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights is just one of the biggest mission statements I've ever seen a filmmaker make. In only a second movie, Paul Thomas Anderson pulled out all the visual stops to basically say, fuck you, here I am. And in the seedy story of the LA porn scene in the 70s, it's an embarrassment of incredible scenes, dialogue, characters, and just moments that are completely iconic. It's the best Mark Wahlberg has ever been, bar none. Also helps that he's supported by an insane ensemble that rivals Anderson's other movie, Magnolia. Julianne Moore, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Don Cheadle, Heather Graham, Philip Baker Hall, Thomas Jane, Alfred Molina. I'm sure I'm forgetting some people, but those are just of the few that make up this incredibly funny and ultimately sad story of the rise and fall of this found family. It has everything we know from Anderson: strange friendships, familial bonds, bizarre romances, an incredible mix of visual artistry with music. This is just a movie where scenes get stuck in your head and you just replay them over and over. So when it comes on, you have to watch the entire thing. Boogie Nights, it's a classic. And number one, to no one's surprise, I'm sure you guessed it, it's There Will Be Blood. Let me paint a picture for you. In early 2008, when I saw this in a packed theater, right from the start, when Johnny Greenwood's incredible strings pierce your ears, the movie fades in on that landscape, and we have a 17-minute wordless sequence of Daniel Day-Lewis's Daniel Plainview digging for oil. It was silent. Everyone was just awestruck. This is Anderson's most mythic movie. It's a Western of sorts, but it's also a fable about America, about how America really came to be at the turn of the century, about how oil is the lifeblood of this country, and of how the incessant need for more and more and more, exemplified by Plainview, is really indicative of the whole American project. It's just an incredible visual experience. Robert Elswit's cinematography is legendary. Johnny Greenwood gives us one of the greatest scores of all time. Daniel Day-Lewis has probably never been better. With Lewis, Anderson unlocks something in him, a ferocity. He's larger than life, but he's also this small, petty man. That's really what it's all about with Anderson. The giant, huge, visceral picture, and then ultimately what that effect has on the person and the people they love or can't admit that they love. This movie is a masterpiece. It's one of the great American films, and it is number one in Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography. You know he's an incredible director when like his top 5 are all bangers and masterpieces. I don't know where Paul Thomas Anderson goes from here, but I do know that I will be there, front row, day one, whatever his next movie is. If you like this review, please like and subscribe or follow me on Letterboxd at RamirezS316. Respect the auteur and tame the list. This was a list. List.